you guys are doing well. This is Amanda again. We are in part 4 of the Exam2 video study guide series. So this is part 2 for Exam2. Or no, not part 2, part 4 for Exam2. So part 4, Exam2 of the video study guide series. So we are going to be talking about phonics generalizations, and hopefully this video will answer the following questions slash prompt of this question. So question 4 states, according to Clymer, phonics generalizations are sometimes helpful and sometimes not helpful to beginning readers trying to decode words they don't know. For example, two vowels go walking. The first one does the talking. Works 45% of the time. Works for bead and not for chief. What phonics generalization strategies would you use first? What would you say to students when the phonics generalizations don't work? So, first things first. If I do have a phonics generalization, these are just a few of them that I would use. So, I think the most common one that we're very familiar with, surprisingly, I didn't see it in the actual article that lists all the phonics generalizations, although maybe it is, and I just didn't get to it. But I wrote down, at least for my first one, when E is at the end of a word, it stays silent when there is another vowel in the word. Example, in the word of bone, the E is silent, but you hear the long O sound. So, and if I want to shorten that into like a fun rule for the students, I could say, if E is at the end of a word, it will pinch the other vowel. But that's just the first generalization that I would use in my class, definitely. The second one that I picked that I thought was the best is when C and H are next to each other, they make only one sound. So C and H next to each other, doesn't matter where in a word, is ch sound. So like in chain or peach, C and H are always going to make that ch sound. So, and surprisingly, that one, there's actually no exceptions to it. This one I'm unsure of. I think there might be some exceptions to it. Like in the word he, there is no other letters in it, and E is the only vowel in it, but yet it's at the end of a word and it's making the long E sound. So that could be the exception to the rule for number 1. But number 2, there is no exceptions, at least none that we know so far. So like in peach, witch, switch, chain, chew, C and H always have that ch sound. So that's another one I would definitely introduce. And then when the letter C is followed by O or A, the sound of K is likely to be heard. That one I feel like is a given, besides a generalization, because C and K actually do have the same sound as each other, that k sound. Although C sometimes has the exception where sometimes if it's next to an E, it sounds like an S. So like in scent, I know there's another one, but yeah, but in like words like cop, cookie, cap, cape, C always makes that k sound. So these are just the simple generalizations that I would definitely introduce first, depending on the grade levels I'm in. Although then again, I'm thinking most of these I could introduce at the beginning, like kindergarten, first grade levels. So, but these are just some of the generalizations. However, according to Clymer, like the question stated. Sometimes it's helpful. So yes, understanding that E at the end of the word is mostly silent, and when there's a vowel in it, comes in and pinches, and the O starts talking, going, "Oh, stop pinching me. Hey, stop pinching me. I stop pinching me." Get it? So usually when it's at the end of the word, but there are some exceptions to that, like in words maybe like he, like when it's just two letters like H and E. E then doesn't follow that. Hey, when being at the end of the word, I'm usually silent. Not anymore, because one, there's only one E, and two, there's no vowel. So now E kind of throws off the whole, well, if E is at the end of the word, it would pinch the next vowel, and E can't. So that might be an exception, but I don't know if it would be considered an exception, but that's kind of an example that I could think of that might make at least number one be disputed for having exceptions. But on the off chance there are students, because to be honest, when I was in school, I actually never noticed that there were exceptions to the rule. I was just taught, hey, memorize the words that correspond with these sounds or these phonics generalizations. So it never occurred to me that there was exceptions to all these different rules. But if there were exceptions to the rule and students are catching on to that, like the I before E except after C, there's like there's some of them that don't follow the rule. I think one of the things that most teachers really can say is, you know what, there are exceptions to the rule and they don't follow the rule. And that's okay. And maybe this is kind of the difficult part as teachers, is when there is rule breakers. How do you handle that when children are noticing that? In my opinion, I would congratulate them and go, you know what? You've just noticed something that maybe not others did. There are exceptions to the rule. And and in this case, we have to be able to recognize those exceptions. Not every word is going to follow the rule. And I think, at least me personally, I would say, you know what, there are exceptions to the rule. Even maybe before the generalization, like if I know the generalization I am putting out for the students has an exception to the rule, I think, one, I would study what that exception is. Two, maybe make a list of words that students could be familiar with and say, look, here's a generalization. This is mostly what you might see when you're reading or writing a word. However, there are some words that they're not going to follow that rule, and that's okay. That doesn't mean the words are wrong. It's just, in this case, there's just some rules that don't follow the rule, and this is something where it's almost like you have to kind of use sight words. So maybe instead of always focusing on phonics generalizations, maybe focus on the rule breakers, like I call the rule breakers. Like maybe once you do a generalization of the week, so like for instance, like let's say there was an exception to rule number 1, then I'd be like, okay, well, here's the words, or here are some words that don't follow, that are considered the exceptions to this rule, and list them out. Or not all the words, obviously, because some, there's like hundreds of them, but like list out like maybe 10 words that don't follow the generalization. See if there maybe is a common theme. Maybe have discussions of why they might not follow the rule. Is it a syllable thing? Is there too many syllables, hence why it doesn't follow the phonics generalization? Or is it just there's not enough letters, or is it, hey, you know what, it's missing this, that's why this word is considered the exception. Make it fun, make it a discussion. Even if you wanted to, maybe you could go as far as maybe I had the idea and now I can't figure it out. Oh, maybe having the students create their own rule for those words that don't follow the rule. See if they can find something in common. Maybe they make up a new generalization for the class, or maybe they found another common generalization in those words. Try to make it fun. Phonics generalizations, they are kind of complicated because there are exceptions to the rules, and really, quite honestly, I feel like the only way you can really express to your students, especially the ones who are struggling with reading, that, you know what, these are just words. When you say them and you try to follow the rule, it just doesn't make sense. And that's okay. This is just something we have to practice. And again, make it like a game. If the student is saying a word and they're like, you know what, this word doesn't sound right, have them highlight it, have it underline it, or write it down on like a notepad or something during their reading time. So then they can bring it up to you and go, teacher or Miss Fernandez, and have them discuss with you. I noticed that this word doesn't really follow the rule of the week or something like that, or what we're studying for spelling words. Even though it has an E at the end, the E's not silent. It's a long E, or I can still hear the E. Something like that. But it doesn't, but yeah, try to make it a game, try to get them involved. Don't be afraid to tell them, you know what, there are exceptions to the rule, and maybe try to find a different rule that maybe we can find in common with these words that don't follow the rule or the generalization. Other than that, that is phonics generalizations. They're difficult, yes. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But don't be afraid to say, you know what, not all words will follow this rule. There are some words that don't, but that's okay. Just try to make it fun, and try to help them with maybe following a different rule for them to understand. Other than that, this is Amanda Fernandez. I am signing off on part 4 of Exam 2 Study Guide, Phonics Generalizations. Thank you very much, and have a good rest of your day.